Yeah, there's some new info in the debug console. If you look at I think I haven't really confirmed with the devs about this, but if you look at players, it says 19 on server, and or for you, it probably says something different. But I believe that is how many are located on your instance. So we are all playing in the same game, but we're all on different servers. Kind of pretty epic.
I remember having to manually do that in some MMORPG games. They're like, pick your world, pick your world, and then you have to figure out where your friends are because you go to the wrong world.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
used to happen a lot.
Yeah, I think the tech, overall has advanced to a point where we don't have to do that anymore. But even for this update, it was still a big update. There was a lot of code refactoring and changing involved. So the good news is, I believe it looks like collisions are actually. Let's see if they're on or not. I think they are on in general. One of the issues we had before was that there were just so many collisions in the world. Each collision is like an object on the server. So it was just overwhelming things. So that's why we kept turning off collisions every week. But it looks like collisions are actually back on now, which is great. And things are still very smooth.
Yeah, I love how you guys kind of like. I came into the Gotchiverse one day, and there's like one of those little announcements, like a fancy optimization of some back end like server stuff, and I was like, all right, that's good enough. I have no idea what that means, but it seems like it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, that was last week. We were testing it, and it was still only one zone. So now we have basically unlimited zones here in the Gotchiverse. No matter how big it gets, we'll scale it to the moon.
That's dope. We're gonna need those once we have all these parties rolling. Once the bounce gates roll out, we were talking about that a little bit yesterday. Just like the social events in the Gotchiverse and how cool that's gonna be.
Yeah, I feel like this lined up perfectly where it wouldn't have really made sense to push bounce gates and observer mode before we had this back-end solution. So it's all kind of just happening exactly how it should.
Oh, big spillover on John's parcel. Here we go.
I was gonna say, things are getting quiet because the spillover just dropped and everyone's frantically trying to get all the Keck
Oh,
cubes,
that
right?
big alpha chunk.
Well, I don't know how this guy gets all these big chunks to drop on his parcel because it's like crazy how much drops.
Oh, so that was another small tinkering we did. The more or the bigger the drop, the more big chunks you get.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that was a
Oh,
big
yeah.
performance increase that we made.
That's
So
awesome.
if you do a mega drop, there's a bunch. There's overall the same amount, but they're split up into bigger chunks because otherwise there's just too many little chunks everywhere.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's a good feature.
Yeah, it kind of auto scales based on the amount.
Yeah, because that drop it's epic every time. Like, I don't even go pick up the little FUD chunks anymore. I'm like, I'll just leave it for someone else. I go for the big ones. I go for the big alpha, the Keck, the FUD chunks, the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that now because
Pick up any.
yeah, I last week I picked up spillover with this one gotchi and I forgot to empty it. So its wallet already has like 140 Alchemica in it, but I picked up 40 like in the last minute just from emptying one reservoir. I was just gonna walk away, but then I saw these big chunks and I'm like, I can't walk away from this. Like, look at the size of this Keck. Can't walk away from that.
You guys, you were just talking about server loads and making this a smooth experience. We just recently had the testnet for NFT displays. How do you guys anticipate, with all the NFT displays, with all the NFT displays that are gonna be up in the Gotchiverse? Do you think it's gonna impact the smoothness that we have right now?
No, it shouldn't because before, if we had done that release before this big improvement, then yeah, it would have been. We would have had to have all the collisions off. So you could just walk on it without there'd be no collisions on it. But because of this update, we can have collisions on the NFT display, like they're supposed to have, and it shouldn't be any major performance hit.
Overall, this is a good thing for implementing all these other features we're gonna have coming to the Gotchiverse, right? Like, it's maybe this is not a thing you guys hopefully need to worry about as much anymore when you're adding features.
Yeah, imagine if we went with like big multiplayer gameplay, you know, something really viral, and we played that card early, like too early. It wouldn't have worked because we would have bottlenecked right away. So there is like a method to the madness here where we got to remind ourselves we're building this together and step by step, and it's almost like a game in and of itself where certain things get unlocked, and it's like an achievement unlock. Now we can go do other things. This is definitely one of those.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah,
more
it's
of
like
a
there's always something happening, always something going on in the process, keeping busy, stuff like that. Yeah.
GM Roxiano. GM.
Also,
Yeah,
GM Dr.
nice
Wagner
to see
said
you
he
guys.
popped up.
What's up, guys?
Hey, good morning.
Hey.
Yeah, these larger pieces of Alchemica are so aesthetically pleasing. Like to see them, like just big chunk just sitting there. It's so nice.
Yeah, we should make them even bigger. Have like a massive size. It's like 10.
Alchemica
Yeah, let's-
boulders.
Alchemica.
Very rarely run into Keck though these days. You guys need to mine more Keck. It's always alpha or FUD or FOMO. I haven't picked up a big Keck chunk in a while.
I just emptied my reservoir, and someone else came and stole the only chunk of kek there was. That was so funny.
Are you guys still
Flame
dropping
says, how did the programmers improve the performance? Basic video game stuff from the NES era with the renderer or smarter code? Mainly back-end stuff that deals with server load. Because when you have so many regions and so many server instances that you're working with, like you guys are not all on one server. You're basically on a fleet of like 30 servers in different areas of the world, and they're all talking to each other at the same time to kind of simulate a feeling of being in the same world, but you're not actually on the same server. So before, the physics engine, which handles all the collisions and all the Alchemica positioning and stuff, was actually not being properly spread out. It was kind of a global thing, and so there was this waterline of performance. When more collisions were added to the world, it would kind of spill over to every single server instance, even if that server instance was way far away from whatever installation was doing that collision. So now with this latest refactoring, each server manages its own physics and its own positioning, and it just sends that out to like the other servers via Redis. So that was a huge performance increase for us. Otherwise, just things can't really scale properly.
Are we still dropping like Alchemica randomly too from all the spillovers from the times when it's not on?
Right now, there is, I believe that Alchemica cron, we call it, is off, because otherwise, if it's on, every time we've done that, we've always run out. Like there's been a massive queue for people, and spillover, like legit spillover, ends up getting backed up by like 5 minutes. So I don't think that's currently on right now.
I think more and more we're gonna see though us being the operators of the spillover. You know, channeling on the parcels and then the reservoirs, and then we also have the feature. And I think you mentioned it, Jesse, that feature eventually that'll get implemented is your gotchi can do its own. Like you can drop your own Alchemica at an event or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That'll be sick. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty epic. We were talking about it, I think, on the GMI call in District 420, like the idea of like, hey man, I might be able to get like a patron to help me throw parties so I can just like dump Alchemica or other ERC 20 tokens during streams or something, and how cool that would be. Quick question for you guys, Coder Dan and Jesse. Once Bounce Gates are live, will Pixelcraft be hosting like their own parties with like, I guess, events or like we don't have pinatas, but drops and stuff like that? Or like, do you guys envision any events that you'll be putting together?
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure we'll do some form of events.
Oh, there is
really have-
one. There's Halloween coming up, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So that'll be Bounce Gates will be a part of that for sure. But beyond the obvious Halloween coming up, and we'll have more details on that soon. I think there's plenty of opportunity. I know I have a few ideas, but yeah, that's the beautiful thing about them. Like we can all just pretty ad hoc throw them together. I could craft one and throw a party even without consulting Pixelcraft teammates. So
Yeah.
no, we want to have a lot of events. That's the key. It's like events that are worthwhile and bring something to the table. Oh, what do we got here, Coder Dan? Oh my gosh, I see.
Yeah, this is
One of
looking sick. Guinea's piece in an NFT display.
I think this is the first time I've seen a real fake gotchi, one of the announced works, like in an NFT display. I gotta play this video.
That display's real nice with the animation and everything. It's really cool. I mean,
Give that a like, give it a retweet. I just love that you can walk on the art. That's my favorite part of all this. It's just like it feels like you're one with the art, and it'll be cool when you see a bunch of gotchis walking all over people's art.
try to do that at your local art gallery. You know,
Right.
I'm one with the art. Get off the painting, sir.
Hardcore's got it. Where's your boots wearable?
These footprints.
Seriously cool though. Love it. Love the lights, like the changing lights around for the frame.
Mhm.
That's really cool. It's a nice feature.
Another thing that I kind of overlooked here is the ability to display the current Aavegotchi items and decorations and all these other things. You guys put up a post, I think it was a GM light. So you made this GM like huge, you know?
Yeah.
So I could see that being another use case, people making their decorations more obvious, especially the GM light. That actually looked really cool. Like I would actually do that on a tile.
Yeah. It could be. I can imagine like someone who has some items they want to sell. They could say like it could almost be like a yard sale, right? You come out, you go, you put all you get a bunch of NFT displays, and you put all of your things you want to sell in there, and then people can walk around your parcel and like buy them directly from the Gotchiverse, like you would at a yard sale. Maybe bargain in real time. Be pretty awesome.
My God, Thrax, that's amazing, that animation you got there. The GM, that's so cool.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Reminds me of Little Bubble. Shout out to Little Bubble. But yeah, I mean, I'm imagining like the GM is nice, but what about putting I've yet to see the alpha fountain in a display case. I guess that would theoretically. Is that the same size as an alpha fold? I think it's still double. I think it's still much bigger.
If you put in the big display, I think it's still larger, like significantly. Is that so? If you put the alpha fountain in there, is it gonna have the animation and the sound and everything still? Like, is it still gonna have all those things? Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
the sound I don't know, probably not immediately, but the animation, the NFT display should have the original animations of the whichever like asset it's showing.
That's very cool. I would do that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a huge boost for decorations. Suddenly you can just highlight your favorite ones and make them like quadruple in size.
I think I don't think we've actually limited it right now to one NFT display showing like one fountain. Like if you only have one fountain, technically you should probably only be able to show off one. But I don't think we've actually enforced that rule right now. You could theoretically have like 20 NFT displays and one fountain, and then have the whole fountain everywhere. But we probably should enforce that.
That's an interesting little hack. You would
Actually, I was
appear
gonna
to
ask,
have
what
so
about
many.
altars? Like, say if I have a golden altar, a second one, would I be able to throw that into the into a display, or would it have to be crafted first and placed on the parcel?
Yeah,
Honestly,
you can put an altar in your display because it's an installation.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's
So
some
I'm gonna do
weird.
that to trick people. Just have multiple altars on my my parcels.
They wouldn't have
It's about
any
to get weird.
utility, but they'd be fun to
Yeah.
look at. That's pretty
It's
cool.
the ultimate, the golden altar flex. It'll be level 1 though. It won't be level 9 because it's not upgraded.
Oh, true, because once you upgrade, that means you've equipped it and blah blah blah. So I don't see a workaround for that part, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be all sorts of ways to work around this.
display all your raffle tickets. Just cover your whole parcel in raffle tickets. Just do all NFT
Yeah.
displays and put raffle tickets everywhere. Like, I want to see the one guy. Like, we're talking about the raffle, right? I think, we've been discussing how people are going to approach. I think people are going to go in heavy with it because there are a lot of tickets available. But imagine like the last group of people that are holding these raffle tickets. Like, do you think at some point these will become like a collectible item? Like, it's like, we have like 100 raffle tickets left in circulation, or a couple hundred raffle tickets. Now it's like, whatever. We're not really probably gonna do a raffle just for that. I don't know. So you'd have like collectible tickets, kind of. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, I guess if the DAO chooses not to allow buying tickets with glitter, then they would eventually dry up as friends are used.
I hope they stay. I really like the colorful ones. I can think of a few use cases. It'd also be nice if the DAO ends up building out some different dApps and continues to use those tickets for various reasons, provide more utility.
Mm-hmm. I
Wait
think
a
it's a
second,
great
but
use for glitter. Yeah.
The SDKs will be really helpful for that kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be a big part of it, like plugging in any of the existing NFTs from the ecosystem.
Dr. Wagner, while you're here, do you want to give a short blurb about the Forge, the mega proposal here, or do you want to leave that for tomorrow?
I'd like
I'd to just bring it up if you guys are okay with that.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
love to
let's do it.
Let's do it. I didn't have time to read the whole thing, so I figure you can help.
Me too.
I know.
I want to know more.
Yeah, but I don't want the crew to be intimidated by how big that post is and then the attached Google Doc. I was trying to flesh out as much of the specifics as possible to really think through it. But in short, the idea is that you could forge wearables. And basically that means you could break down wearables into their core components. And you can use those core components to make other wearables. And this makes a really cool ecosystem where we can control the total amount of wearables by their underlying components. I've dubbed them alloys in this case, which is a combination of two metals. And I like the idea because it's really hard to find a way for upward mobility in the game, right? We want to like be able to level up, like get that next thing. And if you can forge your way to like a mythical item, that really creates a clear path without having to spend $2, $3, $4,000 at auction. But the big impetus for this was how we move forward with wearables, right? We need lots of like common wearables, for example, but there's concern about dilution in the market. And this would be a path for net neutral or even deflationary introduction of new wearables, because as you go to forge a new wearable, it costs a little bit more materials than you're able to get back out of it if you melt it down. So for example, if you have a common item and you melt it down, you get 4 alloys worth, but to reforge the item, it would cost like 4.4. So there's like a 10% burn rate of the underlying alloy, and we can use that variable. We could change it, we could do more, or we could do less, or we could change it with our smithing skill or what the forge was. But the whole point is that we can have a deflationary mechanic in the underlying components. So if people are minting a signal headset, for example, that's a really cool item, right? Head one or face ones are rare. You could do that, but it's going to cost 10% extra of the alloy. And then conversely, people that have an extra signal headset, you can melt it down and make a ton of extra face items, and there would be an arbitrage opportunity in the market for lesser face items, which we really need. And it creates just a really cool mechanic where we can introduce as many wearables as we wanted, like they would be in the form of schematics, and we can fill in a ton of stat gaps. There'd be a lot of opportunity for new art, like rotating things in. You could have these as loot or loot box items, or you do a quest or reward where you get the schematic, and you need that schematic plus the alloy to make that wearable. And that wearable has to come from another wearable that was melted down. And then kind of second part of this, one idea I really liked was the incorporation of essence into this. So essence would be obtained by sacrificing a gachi. So you sacrifice your gachi, you get 100 essence, and you need essence for all pet wearables in like a form of Gachiverse or Aavegotchi reincarnation. Like your pet is like a living creature, and so it needs some essence in it to be made. And then similarly, godlikes would all require 100 essence as well, and godlike pets would need like twice as much, right? And this is a cool concept in that your godlike item you're wearing, like with its aura, is like a prior living gachi. So that's the lore component. But the other side is that this would put a deflationary pressure on gachis. So I think people would start sacrificing their gachis to get essence. That way they could craft these. So there's a lot to unpack from it. And then
Would
obviously this would be in the
would
Gachiverse, you'd use Alchemica, and it would be a big Alchemica sync because this would all take place on a Gachiverse installation at the Forge.
quick question, Dr. Wagami? Would the essence be retroactive? Would the people who've already sacrificed gotchis get that given to their wallets?
I think we could go a couple ways with it. I don't know how hard it would be to retroactively airdrop all of the essence. I know there's like a wallet where you can see where they all went, so maybe it would be pretty easy to find who burnt them and then dropped them their essence. Otherwise, we could use that. It could like belong to the DAO, or it could be used in the Gachiverse for looting in dungeons or whatnot. That amount could be still out there. It just wouldn't be in wallets. So we could go either way.
Are we thinking the forge is gonna be a place in the Gachiverse you would go do this, or do you think maybe it's some sort of an installation that you would have to build on your land to be able to, interact with this system?
My vision for it was that this would be an installation on your land. So you build your forge, and you don't have really good odds of successfully forging unless you level it up. And especially if you're trying to forge a more rare item. So the two mechanics that help you have more success are a higher level forge and your smithing skill. And if you level up your forge, even a low-level smith can have a high success rate with a common, and then you slowly build up your smithing skill. And it should be really hard to successfully forge a godlike, right? And for that, you'd have to have both a high-level forge and high-level smithing skill to accomplish that. And if it fails, you just lose the alchemica that it cost. You don't lose the underlying alloy or the essence. So you're firing up the forge. That costs a lot of resources to get the conditions just perfect. And if it fails, you just lose the alchemica.
Would it be possible to then create one godlike from, thousands of commons, I guess?
Right. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Like, it would technically cost like 1,100 commons, right, to forge godlike, and that's the deflationary component there. And then this also allows us to introduce like a new sale, right? So we have an idea for a sale where you have like one of the 5 godlikes available in GBM, right? So say the gotchis were checking out the catacombs under the gotchiverse and they found this rare item and it's up for auction, but one person can buy it via GBM, but the other 4 are available via crafting. And that would create a lot of excitement around leveling up your forge, leveling up your smithing skill, burning alchemica, burning as much as you can to be the one that mints one of those 4 godlikes. It increases engagement in the gotchiverse, should put a pretty big deflationary component on wearables, and also wouldn't suck all the liquidity out of where we're at in a bear market, because there's going to be a pretty limited amount on GBM, even though there's a lot of new wearables technically available.
With the freeze on wearables, would we technically need a deflationary, or would it be possible to maybe use that 10% to, do giveaways and put in like, rare boxes or treasure boxes and stuff like that? I was just wondering.
Yeah, I think you would go a couple ways with that 10%, right? So is it just burnt forever? Does it go like to the DAO? We could consider like using it again for like dungeon loot, or like, you kill a boss and you like get some underlying alloy. That would be a cool thing to loot, right? As you work towards like building up wearables. Yeah, and like that, those substances have to come from somewhere. I think that's the really unique thing about a Web3 game, is like scarcity and like finite substances. This isn't like a dungeon where just like you keep doing it and like somehow that demon keeps respawning and has swords inside of it. We would have a tight ecosystem with control over the finite ingredients. And I like the idea of giving the DAO and Pixelcraft the ability to use those, uh, but in a controlled way, where we can be smart about the economics, and then also use our data from the sales to say like, oh, there is demand, we can have more sales, we can drive revenue, and then be sustainable as a DAO and for Pixelcraft, without kind of a static situation where we're in now, where we're saying no sales, nothing new, don't do anything. Doesn't make rarity farming like super exciting, and also leaves a lot of open gaps. And I think this could be a solution to help us move forward without diluting our asset holders.
So one of my questions is, so the alloys are like, say that we never released any more wearables with a GBM or first come first serve or raffle, however, if we never did that, then there would be then alloys would actually be deflationary. Is in they would, if people keep sacrificing their wearables to burn them down, they're gonna get less alloy than it would cost if to make a new wearable and then burn that one down, right? There would be no source of new alloy in the game.
Well, the 2 possible new sources would be like if we had a sale, right? So the sale I'm proposing, like the ones that are GBM'd would be introduction. So it allows us to introduce new sales, create like a revenue generating event via the alloy burning from forging.
So then getting rid of it would be a good idea if there's going to be new things introduced. I agree with like getting rid of that 10%, which would eventually create a gap for that new stuff to fill, right?
I mean,
Well,
what
I'm
if
not sure I understand the
this
question.
is a bit of a idea that I have that's a little bit maybe it doesn't make sense, but what if instead of actually selling the wearables through these auctions and GPMs, it was like a crafting chest instead, and then that would be the source of the alloys. Is there would be different grades and stuff, but that would be a big shift from where we're at today for sure.
You could VRF it like what Cool Cats do. You buy cool boxes that have items and use the items for your pets, but you don't know what's in the box. It could be anything, but it's always 5 items. So maybe you craft a box that has alloys in it, but you're not sure which ones or the quantity.
Yeah, this allows some composability with our total wearables, right? So imagine that we introduce skins or non-BRS wearables at some point, or a guild wants to have them. We could say that it takes some amount of alloy, like instead of a common that takes 4, it would take 1. And then, they could, similar to a fake gotcha card process, they could propose it. If the community agrees on it, they could mint it. We would send them like the schematics, so they get 1,000 that they could print, and that would take an amount of alloy to do it. That's another deflationary component on the BRS modifying wearables. So it allows that composability that's really interesting to think about.
To go back to explain what I was saying, if there was deflationary, but then you add things to it, when that deflationary gap got big enough, adding something back to that hole that was now created basically fills it back up, right?
Right. Yep, that's what I was saying. With a new sale would fill up that gap, or we could have controlled like loot options, right? So like you have a big dungeon, and at the end is like a cool wearable that the first 1 or 5 people that complete the dungeon would get it. So you have really tight control over how we reintroduce uh, alloy into the universe.
Yeah, I definitely think like I would want to buy treasure boxes that could possibly have rare alloys or different things inside of it as like, just something that you could randomly pull, kind of like when you do your BRS pull. That would really make it a lot more interesting to me to buy one.
For sure, and that alloy could come from that extra amount, that 10% gap goes to the DAO, and then that alloy can be used for loot boxes or whatever other mechanics we wanted to introduce. You can even like imagine like you need alloy as a component for other things too, like for creating a new installation. And so we could support the wearables market via Gotchiverse installations in this way.
And obviously it all supports by there's some kind of underlying fee that will support the DAO and everything else, right?
Right. And it fits into like a nice lore component, right? Like if I'm forging something, I probably need a little bit more materials than are exactly required, especially if I'm not a very good smith. So you need a little bit extra.
So what the way I'm kind of thinking about this is alloy becomes the scarce material, and does that mean that all we need to control is the inflation rate of alloy, and then we can essentially have unlimited wearable templates? Literally, like anyone could make a template, or I'm sure there'd be a process for evaluating the designs, but it seems like anyone could make a template, and then if you want to spend your alloy on that wearable, you can. But it doesn't really matter anymore how many different wearables we have, because the scarcity is going to be enforced via the alloys in the game.
That
That's
sounds
exactly
amazing.
right. It takes this feeling off of the creativity that's
Yeah.
able, and I think that's what's so cool about this is it really frees up how we can plug in those holes, make rarity farming more exciting, be able to customize your own experience in the Gotchiverse
Yeah.
using scarcity and like a Web3 platform.
Yeah.
My
I think
gotcha
that's
blunt.
really, really powerful.
I would like to create my gotcha blunt.
I guess the main question I have is how we determine the inflation rate of alloy, or do we try to keep it to a certain number, so it's always at 1,000 or whatever, and we keep it at that level, or we would need some sort of metric to know when it's okay for us to maybe introduce some more alloy, or maybe via loot boxes there could be some more alloy introduced. But it would basically go from right now we have a moratorium on new wearables to having a moratorium on new alloy being introduced because there's too much of it.
Yep, I think that's correct. And I think that would be all right to do it that way. It's probably worth that trade-off. And I think it's a more fun mechanic to be able to meter instead of like no more sales, no more raffles. It's like, let's either go up on the forging costs. You know, there's been a catastrophe in the Gotchiverse, and now it takes 20% extra to forge it, or we dial back like the loot drops. So it gives us some more fun and interesting ways to control wearable inflation.
I also agree with Phantasma there. He's also mentioning that maybe some sort of a correlation with the daily active users or general player growth could also be correlated to maybe how many alloys we're thinking about introducing into the market.
Yeah, if we're gonna add new alloys, I really like the fact that we burn alloy when we do it and not, use it back in. And that way, Pixelcraft and the DAO can just create new alloy in the future to give away in raffles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, Jesse, I hear you with the complexity concern, but I think this is one of the few mechanics I was able to explain to my wife that she understood, right? That I have these cool wearables and then I can melt them down and turn them into something else. Like that makes sense. I think this is almost harder for Web3 and NFT natives to understand. Like you're telling me like I'm destroying my NFT to turn it into tokens, but in like a MMORPG sense, I think it makes sense to be able to turn it into something else for some cost. And I also digesting a little more, I think we might be able to do 6 new tokens instead of 10, and we could get rid of like the concentrated like the alfalfa and the kek, for example, and be able to do that if we thought 10 new tokens was too much. And I am also working on a periodic table as well.
I would love that periodic table on a shirt, possibly in the future.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'm rocking a GBM. If you're watching my stream, I have a GBM hoodie, and I just wanted to say shout out to Eduardo. This hoodie is like fine quality. I was wearing it. It was freezing cold last night, and it like just rocks. Very comfortable, nice string. So, good stuff. Seeing good merch come from a company that I trust makes it even better.
That's the idea. It's not fully fleshed out, like Alchemica costs for the actual forging, for the forge itself, and obviously some of the other components. And I would really like community feedback on this in general. And then secondly, I would like the DAO to contribute as much as possible to this idea if we go forward with it. And that would be one of the advantages of trying to pull this off, is how can we pay community devs perhaps to do a lot of the work, like smart contract work or even the artwork to like help this while the Pixelcraft team is taking on so much. And having a reproducible pathway towards DAO contributions, I think would be valuable in itself.
Yeah, that would be awesome, and we can definitely support on the Gotchiverse side if it comes to if a forge needs an installation or a landmark in the Gotchiverse. We can definitely help on that side, and yeah, on the UI side, on the contract side, it would be awesome if the DAO could step up and help with this. That'd be very interesting. One thought I did have is just to reduce the complexity level a little bit. I think the most complicated part would actually be the forge and having that as a separate installation. I think that could probably be, if we wanted to simplify this proposal a little bit, to remove that and just have it as a public good. It's just a place that you go, and maybe you could, I don't know, pay more Alchemica or something to increase your success rate. There's probably another way we could have that mechanic, because I mean, with a installation, you're essentially just paying more Alchemica for a higher success rate. So why not just enforce that on like the alchemical level? But then essentially you could pay a bunch of money to have a guaranteed success of forging something. So I don't know if that's ideal or not.
Do you think, I've seen this in other games, do you think there could be a market that forms around, you renting other people's forge? Like maybe, No Future has a level 8, and I didn't want to spend that much Alchemica, but I'm willing to pay him a little bit so I get that higher success rate. Maybe use his forge.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going for. I just think that having a forge on every installation seems a bit unnecessary when we could someone has an idea of like we could have districts could have their own forges, and maybe they have higher success rates for hand wearables, and another one has a higher success rate for the other one. But there should be some element of like lore MMORPG feeling in going to the forge. Like
That
it
could
should
I was
almost
gonna
make
say,
forging an event.
Yeah, I was gonna say make it, put a bounce gate and put it in at the Great Portal. Like the forge is near the Great Portal. You have to travel there.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to pay a little Alchemica instead of walking to get there. But then it's like a big, like the blacksmithing shop that we all go to get hooked up.
And then the other idea, I in my response there, I just mentioned we can decide: do we want the forge? I agree that we should have a smithing level, and in general, we should start introducing more fun mechanics like that. But I think it's worth considering doing it as the player having this forging level or smithing level rather than the gotchi, because then you really you as a player you're kind of progressing and investing in your success, whereas with a gotchi you can just pay a little bit extra ghost to get a gotchi from the open market that has it. It's not me, it's not as interesting. I think in general we'll probably want to start adding some more mechanics that are player progression focused rather than gotchi progression focused, while still leaving still continuing to add gotchi progression focused mechanics. But I think we should try and have both.
I like it. It's almost like a proof of experience metric. Like you, the player, not the gotcha itself, you're experienced enough to go in there and have a higher level of forging or smithing to get your item versus a player who's not as like seasoned, regardless of the gotcha. Would that be,
Yeah,
how would we do that?
like that
Though?
idea.
Would you tie it to the wallet? Like, is there going to be like a soul-bound token in the wallet that would express, I guess, the smithing
That's
capability?
essentially what the console or cartridge, whatever we end up calling it, would be. Yeah. Yeah, some sort of on-chain profile for each player.
So your level would increase the more you do it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, just like a RuneScape or like a typical MMORPG that has these kind of skills. I think we could have a lot of fun with that, like potion crafting and wearable crafting, all the tropes, right? Could definitely start introducing more of that.
Excited for all that. That sounds so dope.
Yeah.
Diddly Poo says he doesn't like the idea of tying progression to a soulbound token. Is that because you're afraid you'd lose your wallet, or what are the specific reason for that? Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough crypto problem that we're no great solution to yet. Has anyone heard? Did Vitalik talk about that at all when he proposed soulbound tokens?
He wrote a whole paper on it. I can find it if you guys want to. It's actually pretty interesting. Even Diddly Poo regarding like recovering your profile through community attestation, through other SBTs that are connected to your SBT to retrieve. Like there's some really interesting things in that paper. I can try and find it for you guys. Yeah, just give me a minute. I'll find it. But yeah, there's like a whole like paper thesis he wrote on it.
Yeah, I remember reading part of that.
Yeah, here it is. Decentralized. DSOC, they call it. Decentralized Society. So, check this out, yeah. This was a good read. I didn't honestly get through the whole thing, but you can skim over it and you'll get plenty of good information.
Yeah, this kind of ties into the whole DID side of crypto. Is anyone following that more closely? Probably, I know hardcore, you've been kind of interested in that for a while, which doesn't involve biometrics as far as I know. It's more just anon.
I like Polygon
Because
ID
it's
and
chain
that sort of thing.
Not maybe. I mean, I guess Polygon idea is part of that, but I think it's more just about being anonymous and yet having a reputation on chain. But it's a big space. It's a whole area like DeFi or NFTs. Yeah, Gitcoin has the Gitcoin passport, which is basically just a bunch of different uh, like identity mechanisms put together, and they give you a score based on the. It's an aggregator of identity. So like you can do your Twitter profile, your Google like your Gmail, maybe LinkedIn, like a bunch of various Web 2 and Web 3 auth mechanisms all mixed into one, and that's your passport.
Well, I gotta head out, guys, but please read over my post, give feedback, tear it up. If you think 6 is better than 10, or you think a better alloy setup would make sense, I'd really appreciate feedback on it. I obviously just invented this yesterday, and so it's not perfect.
Seriously?
But please let me know what you guys think, and we
Well,
should talk about it.
You must have stayed up late working on it. I was. It seems like a very well thought out something that takes time. It's really good. I'm gonna spend some time on it myself.
He's
and
in
it
the middle of a
deserves that.
surgery and just has a eureka moment. Alloys.
Actually,
Alloys,
one of
that's
the
good.
recommendations was from the patient himself also.
He woke up and was like, "That's a good idea."
He's like, just finished. Like, can you close up my chest, please?
I hope you didn't drop any candy in anybody's chest.
Well, Dr. Wagme, thank you for that. I think it's a fantastic start, and it's got my wheels turning for sure. Lots to think about there. Love the concept, like you said. At the base, it's very intuitive. Melt this down to get something else. So it's pretty cool. It makes me think long term, like when we get to more of the adoption oriented gameplay and things like that, where we really start scaling. Gosh, there one unintended consequence could be some real regret over like super OG items you decide to burn and break down, and then now there's like 100,000 people playing the game. It's like, yeah, I broke that down for something else.
Now, those OG items, will those not be able to will there not be a template for those to be recreated? So that'll be deflationary and how many of those there are?
Yeah, I replied to this in the thread. My thought would be a template would basically just be a rarity level and a design. And so if it goes below the cap, you could always remint it if you wanted. That's up for debate as well, but I think that would probably be a way to go forward. So a fireball would always have 1,000 as a max cap, and if someone burns it, it's now 999. Someone else could mint another fireball if they wanted.
That's cool. I
I-
just thought it
that
would be interesting to be deflationary, like there'd be like only 500 fireballs now.
Let's hear Wagme's thought before he goes. I know he's got to go.
Yeah, so Phantasma really gets me on this. And just shout out to Phantasma as an awesome community contributor. But the idea is if you melted down your fireball, then you get the alloy minus like the 10% or whatever that it costs to craft it, plus the schematic. So what you could do is you could take the alloy and then you could sell the schematic on the market if you wanted, or you could keep it in case that becomes extra valuable, or you could DM Yannick and be like, I got a schematic if you want to pay me for it. And this would
Wait, what is a schematic? Is
this,
that different from alloy?
the schematic would be like the template and would be like
So you need to have that.
one of the key ingredients. Yeah.
So you actually need that as like an NFT as well. I figured it would be a list of here's all the things you can craft right now, and if as long as you have the alloy, you can like forge it. But you're actually saying you'd need a separate schematic as well.
Right, and this schematic would be what we would use in the future too. Like you could loot schematics, you could GBM the schematics, you could propose new schematics, and like that would be like one of the more commonly like traded attainable things. Like in the same way, like if you play like Rocket League and you want to get a cool goal explosion, like you get like a piece of it, and then you can pay extra. It's like the recipe. And you would need this plus the Alchemica to fire up the forge, plus the alloy
I like
to
the idea
successfully forge.
I like the idea when you burn it, you get to keep the schematic, and that actually creates more value too.
Right, yeah. So everything has the underlying schematic. So in case, if you burn down your godlike, but you're worried it would be valuable later, you can at least keep the schematic so you're the only one that could remint that again.
You might want to update your post because I don't see any mention of that. That did not come up in the proposal. I think that part of it, which is pretty key.
Right. I agree. I will, Phantasma, if you could take that on, I really have to go to a pumpkin picking competition.
All right.
Oh, jealous.
Enjoy.
Jealous.
All right, but I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for the kind feedback, and I look forward to chatting tomorrow.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Have fun, Dr.
Awesome.
Reagan.
See you then.
Cool.
Just gonna switch it up here a little bit, because I know that'll get hashed out more in the DAO call tomorrow, and I got some reading to do now. But everybody saw the Observer Origins. The Observers are coming. Super excited about that. So I'd highlight that as one of the bright points in the week here. Super excited about what's coming. Is everybody going to be inviting their friends that have never played in the Gotchiverse to come out for the some events, perhaps Halloween?
Oh yeah, we're now having all our events in the Gotchiverse. Christmas, Thanksgiving. It's just everyone's just coming here now.
We've gotten to. We're at that point where we can honestly have events in the Gotchiverse. Like Halloween is going to be. I think it's going to be pretty lit. We're gonna. The dev team is still finalizing a lot of things for art release, but the ends are almost tied up on that. So we're looking forward to spending a little bit of time on prepping some Halloween content for you guys in the game.
Yeah.
And we can finally have a real Halloween party in the Gotchiverse.
Gonna be able
Yeah,
to
and
craft scarecrows and pumpkins. That would be cool.
You're not far off, Effie, about the holidays. All the holidays, you can save a ton of money on plane tickets. Just, hey, I'll meet you at the Gotchiverse. Here's my parcel. Use this bounce cake. We'll craft a turkey and carve it up.
We can all gather around the virtual turkey and pass the gravy boat around, and it'll be good.
We beat Zuckerberg to it. This is the future. I saw an article today about I think it was a Cointelegraph piece. I might go find the link. And no hate to our peers, and they're all doing good stuff. But it was all about Decentraland and Sandbox, and they've got did anybody else see this? Is they got 38 users live in their metaverse.
Billion valuation.
I saw that.
Yeah, north of $1 billion. You saw that, Roxana? It's crazy. And so I went straight to DApp Radar. I mean, I kind of know the numbers, but sure enough, it's that's where they're at, and we're quadruple them. It's just crazy. And I mean, it's we're all trying to get adoption, so it's early. But to be honest, that's on our roadmap. We just finished our scaling solution 2 days ago. So it's we're just getting started in that sense.
We don't want to have that Shark Tank moment where someone pitches us and then 50,000 people try to join, they can't, and they're just disappointed.
Yep.
Now, what exactly does that change, guys? Now, I know before we were all able to be in the same room at the same time, basically. Does that change that or take any of that away?
No, that is still the same. What changes is that before, as the world got more complex, it would the overall load of the servers would go up, which was causing issues with the Saturday hangouts, where there were just too many installations, too much Alchemica being dropped. It was overloading things. So now you can see tonight we have pretty much the same level of load in the Gotchiverse, but we have collisions on, which means that's a huge step forward, because it means that the physics of each region are now isolated from the other regions, so they're not overlapping with each other. And that
No,
basically allows us to scale horizontally forever.
were you able to create like something just brand new? Because I know what you guys were already doing was basically epic. Is this like a new epic thing that were able to create or build?
I mean, we actually want to do a blog post on it. Hopefully we can get that out this month. I wouldn't say it. I mean, the scaling that we're doing it's interesting enough that I actually had a call with the AWS and Redis marketing team the other day, and they're very excited. They think it's worth doing the whole webinar on, and so we're gonna hopefully schedule that sometime in November, and basically introduce how we're using this infra with Redis and AWS to have this MMORPG type world, open world, and have everyone in the same room together. So it's pretty groundbreaking, I think.
So does this mean we no longer have to worry about the Gotchi interns, dropping the Kubernetes box when they're having a rager?
We're still using Kubernetes, so this just means that we don't have to worry if there were 100 gotchis in each area of the map. And he actually dropped a screenshot from our dev chat. So this picture here, this is showing how many gotchis are currently in each region that we have. So like region 220, maybe I think it's 20, maybe has 100 gotchis, and this one has 80 gotchis. And the thing is that as more gotchis come into these regions, they're going to kind of auto split, and they'll become smaller as there's more load required. So that's what's helping us scale. And those zones for the user, you guys won't see any difference. You'll just notice that there's a lot of people, but there's no performance degrade.
I would say that was epic.
And so Zico says we should test combat again. So yeah, that was another area where just all the physics, all the hearts flying everywhere, all over the map, they were all basically being picked up by the same, we call it a consumer, that was listening to all the hearts and all the collisions from all over the map. So that's why the performance would always basically die when we turned hearts on. We can probably do a hangout one week where we turn the hearts on again and just see what happens. And there's still, I'm sure, some optimizing they need to do, but it should be much better.
So basically, in the future, the bigger everything gets, the smoother everything will run, because the more places everything will be.
Yeah, it'll. I don't know if it doesn't get smoother, but it stays the same, which is that's just as good, I think. There won't be you're not going to be punished for having a lot of people in one region like we were before, or just really you're not punished for having a lot of players scattered throughout the game.
For that weekend that we do this hangout potentially with the hearts, can you turn the vortexes off until the very end of the hangout so we can just really have a free for all?
Yeah, we would. Well, if we do that, we will announce it ahead of time so people know that PvP is going to be on the menu, and then probably we should not have vortexes on during the PvP.
Could have like a King of the Hill style thing where maybe the center District 1 of the Gotchiverse has all the portals or the drop boxes where you drop Alchemica, and then maybe everywhere else is just like Murder District. So you just gotta go find as much Alchemica as you can and make it back to the hill, and not get wrecked.
I'm thinking of all these scholars who post oh, full bag today. It's not today, because you're gonna
today, sir.
Not today.
Raising the stakes, I see.
It's we did ask for PvP, so this is what we get, right?
Yeah, and so now that once this art release is done, the next big thing is PvP and the arena. And we are currently putting together kind of a full roadmap for that outlines all the different stages of the arena and of PvP. So that's honestly, it's like its own roadmap in itself, and that we're very excited to deliver to you guys. First, it'll be as a proposal to the community, to get your feedback on it, and then once we've done a round or two of that, then we'll confirm it and put out an official roadmap.
Yep. I can't express how excited we are. I mean, we had that call, 3-4 weeks ago with everybody on either, I think it was one of the Hangouts, and a lot of good ideas came out there, and we were taking notes. So we'll see what's possible and what makes sense, and gosh, just super excited about that. I had to give a shout. I just dropped a link to the mosaics. One last shout out to you guys that put in the effort on those. I don't know if anybody on the call has one that made the final cut, but man, the mosaics were just way beyond my expectations. And I was an advocate for it. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but holy cow.
I think some of these are fake gotchi status. Like, some of these I would hope are gonna get minted as a fake gotchi card that we can collect, because I would collect that. I would buy that.
Oh, you could argue like it's the effort that went into those is on par with any other work of art. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I got a quick question. With those things, with everything that Dr. Wagamy's talking about wearables, could there be another section where, different things like that could be melted down into something too, to give them a different kind of an intrinsic value instead of just leaving them as is and maybe not doing anything with them in the future?
You're talking about the tiles? Like
Yeah,
melting
all
the
the different
tiles down?
Yeah, like, I mean, just some way to, you could change things up and maybe turn those into something new and do new things with them.
I mean, I think the possibilities are like endless, right? But it probably starts with some sort of this experimentation with what Dr. Wagme has laid out, and then if that seems to be a hit, like if it works out, I don't see why it couldn't be implemented to other things too, maybe. But we got to see how this idea comes together, and I'm pretty excited to have that discussion.
Yeah, I just don't think it was, nice, if some things that, you're kind of stuck with, you know what I'm saying? Then those things might not have any use case in the future if they don't do any more, mosaic tile, competitions and stuff.
Well, actually, Coder Dan, you mentioned something last weekend that got my attention. We were talking about crafting maybe some sort of evergreen tile, and someone had brought up tiles that speed you up, that could possibly stack on top of whatever we currently have.
Yeah.
Maybe we have quicksand tiles also, like quicksand and
all
speed
different
up.
tiles that basically act as like environment effectors could be very interesting.
Like, that'd be cool if you could have a tile on your property that slowed people down or served as like a black hole or something. That'd be interesting.
This next phase is
as
going to be
far
really
as, like,
exciting.
burning things down, I think if we start introducing alloys or like minerals or whatever into the game, it would make sense that why can't everything be melted down into its component? Where it's technically the component of everything is Alchemica, so we should also remember that everything in the Gotchi verse is made of Alchemica.
Those are the atoms. Yeah.
But those could come together in different forms. That totally makes sense.
Oh,
Maybe-
Goobs with the landmine tile. I
Like
that. I like the booby trap.
Well, if the base thing of, the minerals or the alloys are all Alchemica, like that's the atom that makes it up, maybe you could spend an outrageous amount to create alloys, maybe. I don't know.
I'm curious, because this is one of the things we're thinking about with the arena. I would love to get some quick feedback on this idea, but do you guys think it would be entertaining to be able to tip Alchemica to the participants of a battle and allow them, basically there would be like a shop and people the players, the participants, the gladiators, we'll call them, could spend that Alchemica on buying stuff in the shop to help them live longer, or like interact with the environment, or set up a bomb or like a landmine for their opponent. But basically, you as the watcher, you're essentially kind of helping the battle, but you're not helping any individual player, but you're kind of contributing to the chaos of the battle.
Could we gamble Alchemica on the battle, kind of like, without gambling, because gambling's not legal, but, but stuff like that?
I think that's awesome, Coder Dan. Just to answer you.
So Zico says that's pay to win. It wouldn't be pay to win because it would be distributed randomly throughout the battlefield. So it's not like you could target a certain player and say, here's 1,000 FUD. It would be, I'm going to drop 1,000 FUD. I'm going to tip the battle, and it would basically just distribute equally throughout the battlefield.
Yeah, like I'm very entertained by this battle. I'm excited to see what happens, and I don't have control of where it's going to spawn, so people are going to react to it.
Is that player battle interaction is really cool. Like the audience interacting with the actual fighters on the ground almost reminds me of like the Roman Colosseum. They would throw like bread, or like they would throw things into the arena. And it would maybe
going full circle all the way back to BC.
We could throw impediments also. Like we're throwing out Alchemica, they can go into the shop, but like say like I think Donkey Kong or like Mario, we're throwing bananas onto the arena floor randomly, and maybe it just like slips up one of the fighters or something to make it so that we can give both a positive but also like maybe a negative impact to the fight in a fair way.
Yeah, well, so how it would potentially work is you would tip Alchemica, and then the gladiator would be able to go to the shop in the game and basically buy stuff with that Alchemica to use against the other players.
So would there be breaks in the fight so that they can actually go to the shop, or will people mid fight be like trying to go into the shop and they're menu trying to grab things?
Well, I imagine it would probably be we originally did talk about like a physical shop, but it would probably just be a screen in your UI that you could pull up, and you just kind of frantically try to buy stuff in the heat of the combat. You would maybe go to a zone that's not as chaotic at the moment.
Would those transactions have to be on chain? Because I can imagine in a fight, if there's like a gas spike or something, that would be a nightmare.
No, so the only way that this is going to scale before we get to like a ZK EVM kind of thing is to have people to basically deposit tokens into the game, and that would be an on-chain transaction. That would go to basically the wallet that we use to deposit and withdraw stuff, and then whenever you want to withdraw, you can withdraw it. But if you give it to a player, it's basically moving around kind of like Binance, where it's in the system, but it's like now it's in the battle. And when someone picks it up after the battle, if they win, they can come out and they could withdraw it to their on-chain wallet. Like that's really the only way we can scale this and have a bunch of real-time action without going to some like very, very, very advanced technology that doesn't quite exist yet.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It'll be cool once if and when that tech is available. But if you're doing it, it would just be kind of like what we do now, where your Gotchi has a pocket full of stuff, and then you settle up once you go to the vortex.
Yep, it's the same system, except right now you guys can only withdraw Alchemica from the game. But with this, you'll actually be able to deposit Alchemica, Glitter, Ghost, Matic, whatever token you want. You'll be able to also kind of deposit that into the game and use that in game. The other, so you mentioned the tomatoes. The equivalent of that that could be very chaotic would actually be summoning liquidators into the arena to fight the gladiators. But there's it could get out of hand if like too many liquidators are summoned and they just kill all the players. So there'd have to be some balance there. But that could be also like the equivalent of a tomato would be I'm gonna summon this liquidator to attack you guys.
Animosity against the liquidators needs to start as early as possible, I think.
I think back to the dungeon tortures of the liquidators.
So obviously, we still have to make the combat itself fun. That's still the most important. But we are kind of brainstorming on what kind of arena would we like to have. What is a, like Jesse says, it's something very crypto to have this kind of live arena where you can actually watch the combat and contribute to it, and kind of like people Twitch, they tip people on Twitch. So it's like, well, what if those tips could actually affect the combat, affect the stream that you're watching? Would be pretty insane.
You're almost making content out of content then, because that's going to be really engaging to even watch as a stream. Like, even if you're not involved in the battle or a player, that's just going to be like, oh shit, look what they just threw in there. And that's just now changed the fight.
Yeah, they might stream watching a fight. And like, all right, here guys, like someone, if you're a Twitch streamer, you'd be like, guys, just donate $10, and then I'm gonna convert that $10 in Alchemica. I'm gonna drop it into the battle. It's like multiple layers of fun.
We'll have even the UFC bros watching. They'll just stop watching regular fights.
Now I'm just looking forward to the hype videos, interviewing the fighters before so they can talk smack to each other before they jump into the arena. You know, ESPN style. Well, I guess GSPN style, that's what we'll call it.
Ooh,
Hell yeah.
that's your new occupation, no future. Well, you got a job though, so
Yeah,
that'll be your side hustle.
it's my side hustle. I'm going to be doing commentary for Gotchi News Network and Gotchi Sports. I don't even know what the ESPN stands for, but whatever it is, that's what it is.
Yep, I can see it. We we have a ton of ideas for kind of an open style arena, and then also kind of private arenas where that would be the what's that pay per view kind of thing, where you have to, they could actually set like an entry fee to watch the battle, and you as an observer could come in and watch it.
I want to host battles of low BRS gotchis, like the lowest BRS in the gotchiverse, like 300. It's like just guys that are just walking around with like the smallest brains and no energy, but they want to fight.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked, or like internally at least, like the kind of arena that you're trying to build? Because we mentioned Coliseum, so that's a type of arena, and then we talked, UFC, that's an octagon. What kind of I guess ring or battlefield are you guys envisioning for this potential arena, or are there different ideas that you're floating around with now?
Yeah, Neon Kong has made some awesome mock-ups of an initial type. That one is, I think, more. It's got some hazards. It's got some places to get behind. So it's got some like defensive areas. Probably something like that, and like a a gladiator type. But it would also be something we could have different maps that people could play on if they want. It's always, you could eventually get to be able to create your own map. Would be pretty cool. But yeah, there's definitely going to be variety in maps. Not initially, probably, because the dev cycles definitely take up time, but there'll be some variety.
Yeah, his mock-ups are pretty crazy. We'll probably have to share some soon. And the other part is, like you say, like the initial alpha version is also very important, not just for the arena itself, but it's going to have implications in testing that will carry over to what we do outside of the Citadel, the grid, Great Battle. All of those battle mechanics are going to, have implications across the whole Gotchiverse. So it's going to be a lot to. We'll do it together, kind of iteratively, like until the battling gets to a point where we're like, yeah, this is really good.
That's such a huge difference from traditional game development there. You know, usually you guys would be working away, making all the decisions, figuring out how the battle mechanics should work in your minds, and then you would release the product and you would have hopefully the large majority like it, and you'd almost always have a group of people that don't like it. So this is a great way for us to all kind of collaborate together and make sure it's something that the vast majority of people are going to be really happy with, I think.
Yeah, I think this is why I saw a tweet the other day from someone. He was like, engineers shouldn't be developing games. Like let the game developers do that. And I just rolled my eyes. I was like, this is for I can't imagine like a Web 2 engineer trying to make a Web 3 game. I'd much rather prefer a Web 3 engineer trying to make a Web 2 game. There's a lot that goes a lot of, into it, and this is not like a discrediting the hard work that Web 2 game designers make, but there's also the Web 3 side is extremely difficult, and trying to do that without a community that you're working with and that trusts you and you trust them is like it's super difficult, probably almost impossible. I think the only way that it's doable is the way we're doing it. I mean, I'm sure we'll see other attempts, and there will be successful attempts, but I really like the way that we're doing it, and it works for us as a community. So if we can do it, and I guess the part about this that should be emphasized is if we do succeed, it'll be a big upset to all the Web 2 developers and designers. They're like, oh, these like Web 3 guys, they don't even know how to build a game. It's like, no, we built it, and we built it with the community. And this is a new model for making games. It's a totally new paradigm. So we need your guys' best ideas, and we'll put our best ideas together, and together we'll make something that is truly Web 3.
Yeah, well
Yeah,
said.
that's one of the powers of this project. Like we were talking about it with the click when me, Mike Callium, and Zombie Shepherd were being interviewed by them. Just like the openness of the founders in the project and the project overall, like GMI, like doing all these live streams, all the content that's created. You guys like 100% support and like, yo, let's do it. Let's experiment. So it's like that bleeds down from you, and it makes it much easier for us as the community to be behind that and support this thing that we're building together. We were talking about yesterday, actually. Like we're in a bear, but I think our core community is here because we see the innovation that's happening, and we see like the potential. It's not just a whole bunch of moon boys trying to sell PFPs to each other. So it's like that is like one of the biggest strengths of this project is the community, and it bleeds down from the founders. So it's always I always like to say that because it's important to remember.
Well, like
Yeah,
one
totally
thing that I agree to and appreciate, and like one thing that I didn't share was about last week's Singapore Crypto Week, and it went really, really well. Like, I just want to pass on the feedback I was getting to you guys, and it didn't matter where I went, whether it was an NFT event or just the main conference floor, meeting Chainlink at the booth. People know Aavegotchi and respect it. And one in particular, there was this after party that was more for like, I think there's like it was sponsored by like some competitor to GMX, like the whole, decentralized version of like BitMEX, that whole kind of thing. So market makers, like automated high-speed traders, that kind of stuff. I didn't belong there, but I sat down with multiple people that either already knew us or didn't know us, and when I would show them, bear market or not, like I would explain to them the curve and then show them like CoinGecko and our charts on Ghost with the various pairs. Their eyebrows went up. They're like, this is impressive. This is something different. So just want to pass that along. It went really, really well, and it was really encouraging, both from the people that already knew about us and those that I was able to show like our work, and people took notice. Also, I got to hang out with Mavis in real life. That was pretty sweet. So we got to get together.
That's pretty cool that you're hearing that, you're getting that feedback. And I heard, I wasn't at NFT NYC, but I even heard similar things when you were saying, sharing your experiences of NFT NYC, of having this recognition. And then you guys have been on so many Chainlink panels too, which alone is its own kind of highlight there.
Yeah, it's weird because I've like met so much of the Chainlink team in the U.S., but then being over here, and then we walked up to the booth. We're like, hi, we're the guys from Aavegotchi, and it was me and Mavis, and I mean, all three work in the booth. Who you don't know who's working the booth, but it is actually the core team here in Singapore, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, what's up?" Like, yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, Sir Linkiest. Yeah, it was good. They knew it was up. They're like, "You guys use all our VRF." So it was pretty cool.
I like to think we're funding Sergey's hamburgers.
Hey, there it is. Yeah, we really were the first to utilize VRF. I mean, I think on both chains, literally, we were one of the first of any chain on layer one. And then we were like literally waiting for them to bridge to Polygon, deploy on Polygon so we could launch the Aavegotchis. So, yeah, we definitely go way back.
And it sounds like we're going to be using them even more with we do in any of these various RNG based proposals, the forge or loot boxes, gotcha. Sounds like there's going to be more VRF for sure involved in the Gotchiverse soon.
Yeah, in fact, they at the event they name dropped. They said, "Look, you guys are using VRF. Why aren't you using?" In the name of AIDS Me right now, we have some stuff to look into. They're like sending us stuff now. They're like, there's other things to do, and Gravy knows more about that than me from the SmartCon event that he got to speak at. So that whole like CCIP and everything they're doing with the network, it seems like there's a lot going on over there. So probably some more stuff we can do.
Random, but does anyone here use Favor? PHAVER. It's like a lens protocol dApp. Anyone Gotchi gang on like using Favor?
I know my Kalium uses it. I haven't used it yet.
Kalium would be the guy.
They someone from who was it? Someone from Gotchi gang like pulled me into a Telegram group with someone from their growth team. So I haven't really used it much, but I was curious what you guys think of it. Is it worth like us checking out? Maybe doing a partnership with Favor. Yeah, what's Telegram? Seriously.
I don't know. I would have to dive into it. My Kalium would probably be able to say better. I mean, Favor is just put it on your phone, right? Like it's a mobile app.
Yeah, it's like lens on your phone, I guess.
Yeah, I have to look into that. Like I haven't used it just because I don't put anything on my wallet on my phone.
Yeah.
And so if I can do it without putting my MetaMask on my phone, I'll do it. But
yeah,
sorry.
So Choina, you have it. Do you have to log in with MetaMask on your phone? Because that's one of my questions. Like, how are they doing it? Do they use MetaMask to sign the transactions, or do you not sign transactions? Is it read only? And does anyone have a code? If you do, hook me up. I'll try it.
I've used Lenster on my hot wallet on my phone. It does work. It's just like not the safest thing. I was gonna ask, does Aavegotchi have any plans? Because you guys are doing more and more video content. Are you planning on putting any of that stuff up on LensTube? Because I think it would be a good place to start aggregating some of this new content, your live streams. It might be a little costly to put the live streams up, but it's still only a couple Matic, and people can then collect these NFTs from the project.
I mean, that's one thing we could definitely do in the short term. That's a good point. We probably should. The other thing we can do is, I don't know if you guys saw it, like everybody on Lens that's active. Did anybody see? I had a sit down over Singapore Crypto Week with Mr. Stanny.
Oh, I
Nobody,
haven't seen that yet.
nobody saw
Did
it.
not
dropped
see
it
that.
I dropped it in general chat. I was like, anybody on Linster right now? And like, nobody saw it.
Oh
I
man.
thought you guys were active on there. I was like, they're definitely going to see it. Here, I'll share a screenshot.
Please drop again, sir. We will go check it out.
You'll have to go find this. I
Oh,
just have a
okay.
screenshot.
Oh, I gotta go collect that. Damn.
We did
okay.
dim sum together. Go collect it. It's like 10 days old now. But yeah, we got to hang out and we basically spent zero time talking about Aave. We spent all the time talking about Lens and Aavegotchi and how to maybe do some, basically brainstorm some ways that could make sense for, doing more things together. So, yeah, I mean, we're definitely like, he opened up a group chat with some core Lens developers and stuff, and we've got to prioritize that and figure out what we could do together. But there's a couple ideas, and if you guys have specific ideas, because you guys use it a lot, I honestly need to get in there and use it more. I have an account that I don't use much. That would be really cool. So we should have a conversation about that. And, there needs to be a social aspect to the Gotchiverse. So it makes sense if Lens plays a role. But no futuristic. You were really talking about just like quick, like right now, like we should just be running our channel. Like that's low hanging fruit.
Because you're actually, I'm following you now. I like this Pepe that you have. Oh, actually, I am following you already. Yeah, you would be able to just set up a lens tube because you have the Aavegotchi.lens, and then it's just a matter of uploading the videos. You can add collect fees. It's I've been actually the new artists I meet in the world who I'm encouraging to get into NFTs. I've been encouraging them to use Lens. Like if they can get a profile, it kind of eliminates a lot of the minting and the token gating that they would want for some of their content. And I think Aavegotchi would benefit from that. Plus, it'd probably be a little revenue generation if you're charging Matic or Fiat, like, $1 USDC to collect your post. I would buy them.
Yeah, that does totally make sense. Gotchi Bulls, yeah. He was very generous. He was sitting there in front of me, so he had to say something nice. But he was also talking about some other. I know Linster is very popular, and I was asking him like, what else is building on the protocol, and he was talking about OB. I should have wrote it down. Like
Orb,
OB.
I think, probably, right?
Orb, yes, yeah. He was pretty excited about Orb. He was like, he was actually using Orb to make that particular Lens tweet or whatever you call it, and how it populates across the protocol, so it showed up on Linster regardless. So it's pretty cool.
I dropped it there for you guys to check it out.
Nice, yeah. He was very, very much excited about Orb, so I have to check that out.
Yeah, LinkedIn who?
There's like 10 different like Lens platforms now. It's crazy. They're just like sprouting up all over the place.
There's one where you can make memes. If you got, I remember playing with it. I don't remember the name of it now, but you can make rememe. Rememe, that's the one. We can make Aavegotchi memes on there. Make it go viral. Thanks, Zonzi. And speaking of socials, check out this tweet. Give it a like. I got this. I put out a tweet yesterday for fake gotchis.
Oh
And
yeah, I
spreading the
was meaning
word.
to share that an hour ago.
That's
Please
okay.
share that.
I'll drop it. So please go like this. Oh, my
Very
mouse.
historical too. I like it.
I tried to give some context, into why we're doing all of this, because it is a big deal in my opinion. Like this is huge. Like this is the biggest release I think I've experienced with Aavegotchi. Is going to be the art release.
Yeah, and the cool thing is it's not a one-time release. It's like it's going to be ongoing for a long, long time. Yeah, great thread here though. Really very well done.
I feel like you've been studying under Master Yang. I was like, he did the TLDR on it pretty well.
Yeah, I'm his apprentice, I guess you could say.
But he never put it down in writing, like as far as I know. So you did a great job of. It's not his. It's a story that is shared across many. So you did a great job of putting that out there and then tying in Aavegotchi. So what we're trying to contribute.
I spent many hours talking to Master Yang and getting his distilled knowledge on what he's doing, and he's helped me out along the way. So Definitely not all these thoughts are original, but I just thought I'd put everything together in a place where also some of it was taken from the Book of Keck, which is, we have the Gotchiverse Bible, but the Rare Pepe community, they have something called the Book of Keck, and that is their source of truth for all things history related. So that was a nice resource for that. But there's there's an interesting part in this Book of Keck. It's card specific lore, and you should go in. It's a good way to get some ideas on what you might want to do with your fake gachi cards, because there's specific card lore. Like certain cards would give you access to Telegram groups. Like if you have the Hair Pepe, there's this thing called the Salon, and it's like this Telegram group of people that just own that card. There's like these little quirks, these interesting things that they've done that might really be inspiring for fake gachi creators. And so maybe I'll grab that. I'll put it down for you guys here. But even if you're not into Pepe's, I think it's a good way to look at those cards and see how you might want to do your fake gachis.
Yeah, if nobody else does card style, I'm actually messing around. I might get to a point where I feel like it's worth sharing. Nice little card. I like the cards.
I was talking to Rare Skrilla, who's one of the originators of fake rares, and just talking to him about his early journey getting into this grassroots community and what started doing. And he was kind of like, he's like, dude, I wasn't an artist when I started. Like, I had this creative drive, and I started experimenting. I just started drawing shit. Like, I just started making stuff and just sharing it with people and then iterating on it. And he's like, the beautiful thing about the blockchain is that even if you're not an artist and you start today and you have the creative mindset to start putting stuff out there, people 10 years from now will be able to track your development as an artist and look at No Futuristics or Hefe's like early works. Like, look how far he's come, and maybe those early works do have value at that point, so.
Absolutely. There's an opportunity here where if you're inclined to be artistic and creative, you can, and you already are to some extent, or you're not, but you want to get started, you can really transparently have that journey on chain. So that's interesting in and of itself. Yeah, I agree with Mycalium. Let's see what Roxiano brings for a sequel to not just the fake gachis, but anything else she's working on.
Oh, geez. Okay.
What are you working on, Roxiano? Spill the beans.
Well, I'm thinking about making stories for my gachi characters, like backstories and stuff.
Like Wish Bish or perhaps others?
Yeah, yeah. I have two Aavegotchis right now, Wishbish and Game Babe, but I'm thinking of giving backstories to like my Gotchi art NFTs as well, or maybe like the future ones I make for the fake Gotchis and stuff. So that might be something cool that I could do.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good whatever you do. So we'll have to stand by, I guess. No timeline, right? No rushing it. Oh, that was another thing real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like the Kawa, the Crypto Art Week Asia thing that went on simultaneously with Singapore Crypto Week. That was pretty epic, and they did display. Oh my God, what's the name out of Japan? Dan, you know what I'm talking about. Excalibur, yeah. They showcased his piece, their piece that features Aavegotchi, and that's like probably a year old at this point. That's like a OG crypto art piece, crypto Aavegotchi piece. So I was super happy to see that in the gallery showcased. I was fighting to get more. It was kind of a catch-22 because like we're not live yet with fake gotchis, but even some of like Roxiano's work and stuff, but they did get that piece in. They got the Excalibur in. So I think one of their insistence was it needs to be work from artists from Asia naturally. So it made sense to feature Excaliburs. As far as I know, Roxiano, you're not Asian, so I did not push too hard.
Right.
There it is. There, it's
Cool though.
really cool when it's like animated. It's so good.
Yeah, I love it. I love the colors. It's so awesome.
The track though is so it's like this ambient like ASMR kind of sound, you know, you just gotta like it's enjoyable to listen to it. It was really well done, I think.
I'll try to find Mavis's tweet about it. He's got a little bit of the animation captured.
Sorry, that was just an old screenshot I had. The animation really takes it next level because like there's like little animations within this thing that you may not notice. Like you really got to look for them. Like the fire, and then you got some like in the background there. It's really cool.
Not to derail the convo here again, but I don't think we've mentioned this yet. On the blog here, we just published this piece about GMI. We've been publishing a bunch of pieces about like the guilds in Aavegotchi, and so yesterday was the GMI's turn. So if you guys if you're curious about the origins of GMI and what they're up to, it's a great blog post to check out.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for publishing that, and also shout out to for Thrax for helping us drop this new logo. We just woke up one morning. We had no idea he was doing this, and he created this insane logo for us.
What you want to talk about? What the logo is?
I mean, is there something more to it? I didn't realize there was. Is it Gotchiverse?
We got the text in the middle, and then it almost looks like a handshake or something like in the middle, but I wasn't sure. It's like a small image, so I can't really see. But is there any like story behind it or anything going on there, or is it just, you know, it kind of looks like a Pangea or like a handshake? I love logos. I love, I always look into.
I think it's a mirror image of the blog picture. That's what I thought it was. Like you're seeing those alpha mountains coming from the top and the bottom.
Kind of how I saw it too, like a mirrored image. But I agree with my Callum. It's just Thrax's good taste. Like he had full creative control on this, so he just presented it, and we were kind of blown away by it. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
I mean, just so you guys know, for anybody listening in who's like, who the hell is GMI? We're Gotchiverse Media International, and just as the name says, if you have any media interests or creative interests, and you want to contribute to Aavegotchi in any way, we have Friday night meetings where it's open to anybody. You can just join our Discord. You can come hang out, grab a roll, and we can either, you might maybe meet like-minded people like yourself and get to collaborate with someone, or, if you have some really great ideas, we can help you bring it to the surface and see if we can make it a reality for you. So that's the kind of essence of what we do. But it's also a fairly tight-knit group. People have got to know each other really well now, and we're able to collaborate on bigger things like the Guild Summit. We've done an Artist Summit. We have some other events planned coming down the pipeline. But we just really want to contribute to the public goods sector of the Gotchiverse and make it just a really fun place to be. So,
yeah, GM friends, just following up on that too. Just really good coverage for GMI this last week, and in general, we mentioned this in the Twitter space earlier this week on Thursday a little bit as well. But the exciting part is from the outside looking in. You can't see Aavegotchi without seeing GMI at this point, because it's just really interesting to watch such a community-driven endeavor have so much to do with the current ecosystem and features and coverage and promotion. And so other communities are going to start to look at what we're doing here as kind of the mark. And so just well done, everybody involved with GMI and Aavegotchi Gotchi Gang in general. That whole entire enthused user base and base of support is very impressive to almost every other protocol out there that's still struggling to hit, 10 to 30 people on community calls and have consistent show up at their weekly hangouts and a lot of social generation is very difficult to achieve, and we do it so casually here on these 100 plus calls every week, like there's nothing to it. And so, well done. Keep up the energy.
Right. No bear market vibes here. Just
Right? Absolutely.
Saturday, we got a Saturday call with there was about 120 at the peak, I think, today. Very cool. I think it's actually before we were getting about 70, 80, and then we started adding the event here in Discord, and now we consistently are hitting about 120, 130 every week. So that definitely helped. We should honestly probably do more with that and just let everyone know. Maybe we don't want to go and make like a full announcement, like, "Hey guys, Hangout's happening," because I'm a guy that if you ping me too many times in your Discord, I just mute it forever. It goes into the black hole of Discord. So we try to keep the pings to a minimum here, but having the events does definitely help.
Well, we've got such a diverse group right now listening that I'll put the call out because we're always recruiting, we're always enticing with fake gotchis happening and just with all the game dev happening and all the stuff happening. If you've got that next project in your mind, or you're thinking that you want to start dropping a lens series, or you want to make something, or you got a track that you want to record, please reach out. Like we're hungry. We're always looking to find someone else's content to help promote and bring to market. So by all means, don't be shy.
We're the
Yeah,
poets.
We were talking last night about adding more shows. We got to fill that hour between D420 and the GMI call.
Well, I was gonna say we're the poets. We need the Gotchi Poetry Jam to go down. I know, Mike Callum, you started that, but we could definitely, if you guys have any poetic types in the audience, we would be happy to have you, or anything else.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
what is the show that fits in between District 420 and GMI, the weekly call? What's the content that this user base wants for that 1 hour in between?
I'm just riffing here right now, but I think that it'd be really cool because we were talking about rotating hosts last night with Dr. Wagme. It'd be really maybe interesting if we could set up like a weekly guild chat and have representation from one of the ecosystem guilds to come and just kind of do a little spiel of themselves. But who knows? Just brainstorming.
Also, before I forget, we mentioned, and I would love to get feedback from Coder Dan and Jesse. We were thinking like, hey man, it would be really cool if we made like a Gotchi Jeopardy tournament. I think it was Dr. Wagner. He said that, oh yeah, Bowtie Nerd and him could write up the questions, but make like like a cool Jeopardy tournament. Like maybe it's a month-long one where kind of like what we did in New York, where everybody was answering the questions. Maybe a little bit more challenging because Gotchi Gang was knocking those out of the park. But like a full-blown, like 1 month long Gotchi Jeopardy tournament.
Yo, that is not a bad idea. People love Jeopardy. Like, dude, for real. That's actually a really great idea. We could build that out and make it look great, like visually, and have it be a real, like, good event that takes, like you said, a month-long event. That would be awesome.
Yeah, weekly tournament. Like every week, you have like a series of competitions. The hardest part I think would be just getting the questions, and then also how do you have people answer them? Like there has to be a ring-in system of some sort. But I know we were talking about different services that do that kind of stuff. But I would be really hyped to play some Jeopardy, Gotchi themed Jeopardy with the Gotchi A.
Yeah, I like these interactive experiences. Dan and Jesse, did either one of you guys have any exposure or awareness of what John Gotchi recently did with his escape room on-chain scavenger hunt experience?
No, I've not heard about that. I miss a lot of the stuff in the U.S. time zone. So if there's any like really exciting stuff happening and I'm sleeping, just someone can like catch me up. But yeah, I do miss a lot of the stuff you guys are doing just because I'm usually not awake. But
sometimes we're too humble to ping you inside the GMI server, but I see you pay attention in there sometimes too, so we'll make sure to try to drag you along for some of this stuff. But he did this amazing experience where he released like a visual image first, and people could go check out this visual image, but then he encouraged you to inspect the elements, so F12 and console check, and dig through the details, and that led you to another IPFS link which had some lore, which led to another image that had 4 parcels on the Gotchiverse map circled, And then you needed to go to Adventure.io or in the Gotchiverse itself and visit these 4 parcels, and you would find a string of characters spelled out on the parcels using tiles in the Gotchiverse. And then you had to assemble all 4 of these parcel tile strings and find a way to deduce them because they weren't just in straight order. And you had to find out how to decipher it. And then you had a wallet address that you went to this front end that he built, entered the wallet address, and you could unlock a loot box.
That's crazy. That reminds me of like what I was watching. I think it was like maybe CoffeeZilla was talking about the. No, I think it was the Ryder Rips video. He was talking about the Bored Apes, kind of the puzzle that they made, and all the stuff that went in that. But it sounded very like really fun, and this sounds similar to that. What I really enjoyed was I actually watched when I was watching that guy's video. It was fun watching him solve the puzzle. So, but maybe no future. That'd be awesome content if you made like a like now that I mean if you know the answer now, it would be pretty quick probably to go in and like actually stream that, or maybe not stream but like make a video talking about that puzzle. That'd be great content. I would watch it because I didn't get to do it.
Yeah. Is it still live, Mike Callum, or did that go down already?
He had it set up initially for 24 hours, and like only one person cracked the code, and so he gave us another 24 hours. So it was 48 hours in total, and I think 4 people ended up successfully completing it and making the claim.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, I can link up with one of the 4 that have done it, so I don't have to like recreate the wheel and do it 50 times slower. Then that would be really, because I'd be the one trying to walk around in the Gotchiverse for 3 hours looking for these parcels versus.
I had the right instincts on a couple of pieces of it, and we just all collaborated together and helped share some info and help each other along. In the weekly chats, I just dropped a screenshot that John Gotchi provided in our server that had the 4 parcel screenshots with the character strings on it. It was really impressive, and it took my skill set to places that I was uncomfortable, and it asked me to do things that I wasn't familiar with. It felt very engaging.
Yeah, he's also created, for those technically inclined who want to look at this open source GitHub repository, a chess standard, so an implementation for on-chain loot boxes. And it's kind of flexible, but I think we could have some really good ideas around this. I believe this is what he used for the treasure hunt that you were just talking about, Michael. And so we can kind of brainstorm and see how we might want to use this chess standard. I think you can accept any kind of token in there that you can put inside of the chest. And then he's also playing with the 3JS library. So using these, I think they're like 3D assets that you can programmatically like add stuff to. And so he's been going through this tutorial. So I can't wait to what he's actually putting together there. This John Gotchi's the Web3 school is a much larger thing that he's building, but these are just these are aspects of it that we can implement and use within our kind of ecosystem currently.
Well, and if someone can grab a link and drop that on the actual Web3 school too, that would be much appreciated, because I'd strongly encourage anyone that hasn't participated in the Web3 school itself to also take a look. Because not only is it just interesting to do and be a part of, but you've got to see the concept in the platform and start being creative about how he can adapt this presentation into other content, because I see an easy forkable concept here in a really useful way.
It's funny because we kept talking about it yesterday, and I thought you guys were saying chess, like CHESS versus chest, and I just realized that now. Now it all makes sense. I thought he was like, oh, this is going to be, we're building a chess game or something like that, right? And I was just thinking of all the controversy in the chess world, but it's chess, so I was in the wrong ballpark altogether.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that in the future, because last night we were talking about some really simple games that we could look at, like the Jeopardy kind of platform concept. I am also very strongly interested in building a Gotchi-themed chess platform, either as a mini game or as something that could be done inside the Gotchiverse in a physical layout. I don't care where it's done, but I want a way to play some chess with some Gotchi gang somewhere.
Yeah, that's actually that would be a great use case for the SDK that will eventually get built for the Gotchiverse. That would basically, you'd have a parcel and you could have little mini game and triggers that happen on that parcel with rules that you kind of set up. So I think that would be a perfect use case for the SDK.
We're on our way.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit still out there because we do have to get. There's a lot riding on combat, I think, and PvP for everyone. I feel like it's a big moment for the Gotcha Gang to have PvP, and we want to make sure that we get it right, because if we don't, then it would definitely be, it would hurt morale for sure. So we want to spend enough effort and make sure that we do get combat right before we kind of start putting more brain power onto the SDK stuff. That said, we are working on scoping out the features of the SDK. We're just not actually like starting to build it yet until combat is at least on its way and confirmed with a roadmap. But yeah,
I don't want to.
There's a lot of potential with that.
I don't want to get too into the weeds in this particular topic because this will expand after the fact with some other stuff that I'm working on. But has there been any discussion at all at Pixelcraft regarding any kind of carbon impact, carbon mitigation, or any kind of carbon discussion at all?
Not really, because we're on Polygon, so we don't. It's not something we really think about too much. Is there a specific area, like the AWS servers or something that you'd?
For me, the audit would be across. Yeah, the off-chain impact is also worth evaluating and discussing. But for me, something I was mentioning the GMI call last night, being deep in Nori and the carbon world, I'm watching a lot of carbon protocols start to sniff out, hey, how do we get involved in the gaming communities? How do we get involved in NFT gaming communities? How do we get involved with communities that are highly engaged, that have consistent retention, that also maybe want a little bit of like virtue signaling within their protocols to be able to say, hey, not only are we like carbon like neutral with our protocol, but we're going above and beyond, and we're actually carbon negative at this stage, and helping offset impacts that happen elsewhere that isn't necessarily just our own guilt phase.
I mean, it's not. I feel like that's in our current stage of where we are as a startup. I feel like it's kind of, if we spend, I don't know what the process is for that, but if we're spending money to do that, then that's money we can't spend on other like developer costs or design, things like that.
Steppen recently went through that because they were allocating some of the platform revenue into carbon offsets, and as their platform has kind of imploded, that was one of the first babies that they threw right overboard and said, to hell with this, we can't do this. Now what's interesting though is there's something called like Menthol protocol. Climate DAO is another example of it, is these carbon platform aggregators. Menthol is interesting because you can list contract addresses of anything out there on chain, and Menthol has this Menthol bot that will evaluate what that contract's carbon impact is, and then anybody can be the ones that contribute resources to help offset those impacts. So it doesn't have to be Pixelcraft the ones spending money to do it. It could be the Gotcha Gang, those of us that are interested in it, stepping up and being like, we want to make sure that Aavegotchi's got a clean slate. So I think we're about to see more opportunities to have some integrations there. But I keep hearing, discussions of like a Gamers Carbon Coalition or the Carbon Coalition of Gaming Initiative or something like that. And I don't want to miss being, in Carbon and in Gotcha Gang. I don't want to miss this opportunity. So something you'll hear me talking about more in the future.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if I know Hardcore had his idea for like the NFT trees, planting trees in the Gotchiverse. I think that's a pretty interesting idea.
Yeah, he's got the whole thing drawn out on a Miro somewhere. But something I was mentioning to these guys last night, for me, I see very easily that we could have like nature preserves in the Gotchiverse. And so if a spacious parcel was procured and then loaded up with these carbon-backed NFTs, these NF trees, then you could essentially have like this park preserve, this nature preserve of this parcel that's covered in all these actual carbon-backed assets, and you're also eliminating that Alchemica from ever entering circulation. And so it's like an actual Anwar reserve.
Yeah, I can definitely see installations that are or like decorations that link into that and are related to these carbon initiatives that people could buy with Alchemica. I don't know. Yeah, we'd have to think about the specifics of it. I'm sure hardcore's 8 steps ahead already. But yeah, it's a cool idea, and definitely helps with the PR side for sure. You know, people like to, there's a group, definitely a group of people that like to see that people are taking those steps.
Yeah, right on. Like I said, yeah, exactly. He has been hot on this for a long time, and so I want to make sure that we follow up on this. And I'm in a great position to have good access to the right resources, and so I think we can come up with a plan together that suits everybody and still gives us some first mover advantage. So something that we won't let go of and talk about in the future times.
Before I get off here, just wanted to let everyone know, if you haven't watched this video yet, we did a nice deep dive with D-Work, and we'll be getting the Discord. We'll get the D-Work for Aavegotchi set up probably early next week, and once that's set up, because we are the admins of the Aavegotchi Discord, we have to set up the D-Work. But once that's set up, we'll basically, as a community, we can start getting into deeper discussion about how we want to manage the D-Work for the community, and bounties and reviewers and all that kind of stuff. But really, a really nice talk. And if you guys have any specific projects that you would love to have see Jesse or myself do a deep dive on, it's really good content for the YouTube, and it's great learning for us. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that is kind of DAO tooling, DAO infrastructure that we don't necessarily know about yet, or have heard of but aren't really using. So definitely open to, if you guys have any recommendations or know any founders that are looking for this kind of opportunity.
I'd say an easy next one. I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to experiment with payroll on Parcel Money yet, but
yep, we're actually using that now for our payroll.
Good, right on. Yeah, we've been thrilled with Parcel. It was just kind of exploratory at first, but the more we use it, the more we like it, and they're iterating really quickly, and they listen, and so I'm happy with what we're seeing.
Yeah, we probably should do a deep dive with them, even though we're already using it. But maybe there's probably features that we aren't using. Yeah, it could definitely be one of them.
Their big alpha tease that they keep talking about is NFT management within their platform, and so that would be a huge improvement for the Gnosis dashboard.
Yeah, it seems like Gnosis isn't really working on their platform too much. It's kind of it is what it is at this point. Or do you see any more active development happening on it?
They renamed it here recently. They rolled out that whole Gnosis Safe is now their full brand. I mean, that was a couple months back. That was like the first time I'd seen them do anything in a while. So I mean, that's a decent pace, right? Once every 6 months or so.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But so it's great. They're probably not going to change the smart contract, but maybe they could do some. Even the UI is good too. So I guess there's nothing they are. I don't know. I'd be curious what they are working on with it.
It's the safe apps is where I see weakness. Their allowed apps are really weak. We can do some things in the Gotchiverse, but it's like you can't open OpenSea from the Gnosis dashboard as a safe app. That's not even programmed yet.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
I think the way Anubhav, the founder of Parcel, he made a good point that Gnosis is fairly basic in its utility, but it's because it's open source, it's kind of meant to be iterated on, and that's kind of where Parcel really sees their use case for their product is this layer, a nicer interface and better, more utility built into their platform on top of Gnosis. So I'm not so much thinking Gnosis is going to have some killer features, but hopefully people building on Gnosis maybe will be able to figure out some other better iterations on top that have those features. But we'll see, right? Slow and steady, like you're saying, McCallum.
Very quickly, Penske asked a question about when DAO adds liquidity for Alchemica as voted. Do you have any update on that?
That was yeah. We need to make the core prop and get that out, I think, and then once that's done, um, I guess who is doing that? Are we doing that on behalf of the DAO? We don't
I
really
would think so.
we don't really like providing liquidity on behalf of the DAO because it mixes the roles between Pixelcraft and the DAO. So in the future, we want to be able to say to anyone who's looking in, like, we are separate entities from the DAO. So if it'd be great if, I guess, if the DTF or some, yeah, it probably would be the DTF could do that once it's done.
Okay, so you're saying they could provide the liquidity straight out of the DTF allocation, and then just in general when the Pixelcraft re-tops up DTF, that's how that is made whole.
Yeah, we can send the Alchemica from where it's being currently held by us because there's no like holding wallet for the DAO at the moment, which is also something we're working on with the community. But as far as actually going and doing the transactions to provide it, it shouldn't really be us. So if we
Yeah, makes sense.
I think the DTF. Well, we gotta chat with Dr. Wagme about it, but we're kind of in this like transition phase where things are being figured out, and it seems like we're getting close to a point where everything will be smoother, as far as on the finance side. So yeah, we'll get the core prop out next week. That'll give us a week.
Yeah, right on. I'm looking forward to it. So tomorrow's we got our DAO meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. UTC. That'll be right here in the Discord. We will be discussing Dr. Wegme's idea that he put up there, some housekeeping stuff, and also I wanted to talk about the Notion page. I've put together a way to get your funding, apply for funding, way to check where your proposal is at, whether it's in review, whether it's been funded, whether it got rejected. You can go check it out, check it out yourself. So there's a few features I've added to the Notion there, and we're at a point now where people can start using it. And so I'll get the link out there tomorrow. We can talk about it, and in addition to anything else that we might want to discuss. But I feel like those things will probably take up a decent amount.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, friends. Great hangout, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yep. Have a good night.
Enjoy your Saturday.
Thank you. Good day, everybody.
Bye.
Later, friends. Peace out.
Peace.